the history of the gold price gives us context to where we are today, and context as to why we're in a secular bull market for gold. That doesn't mean you necessarily want to buy it today, but undoubtedly there's a secular, long-lasting gold bull market, and it kind of is illustrated a little bit by this chart. Now, this is from a fabulous book called The Golden Constant, which was updated in 2007, I think originally written back in the 1970s or something like that. But what it shows you on this chart that goes all the way back to 1560 is three lines on here. One is the price of gold, number one. Number two, it's wholesale prices, so basically commodity prices. And then number three is the price of gold divided by that commodity price index. So in other words, the purchasing power of gold in terms of other commodities, so wheat, copper, whatever it is, a general index of wholesale prices that is to generate a purchasing power index. And of course, that's what you see on this chart. Is the purchasing power ability of gold in the 1500s is broadly what it is now. In other words, what you could buy with an ounce of gold in the 1500s, you could roughly buy now. And I think that's the most important quality of gold. And of course, it's backed up by the idea there's only so much gold in the world. You can't create new physical gold. You can dig a bit out of the ground, but not much of that happens there, and there isn't that much in the ground, and most of the world's gold has been discovered and is out there in some use in some form. So it's like the age-old Bitcoin. Basically, there's a limited amount of it about. So the more you debase money, the more gold goes up, of course, and the more it holds its as it continues to hold its purchasing power. So I think in a historical context, this gives us a lot of background understanding. And then I would layer on top of that what you see on the left-hand side, which is this idea that you get the great price waves. You get long periods of stability in prices, and that's what we're showing on the left-hand side going back to 1200. Long periods of stability. Take, for example, the Enlightenment equilibrium, if you can see that, sort of 1700s, or the Victorian equilibrium in the 1800s. Long periods of stability in prices. Prices are flat. As we show on the right-hand side, top chart is the price level in the UK. So the price level in the UK was essentially unchanged in the 1800s. So what you could buy at the time of the Napoleonic War for £1 British, you could buy in 1900. In fact, you could buy a little bit more. Exactly the same basket of goods. So in other words, prices were unchanged over 100 years. Because there was stability in the monetary system, basically, there was no currency debasement. We had the classic gold standard in the 1800s. That restricted the government's ability to create liquidity, create money, and therefore anchored the price level at 100, or a flat, if you like, over the course of 100 years. And then, as you see in these price revolutions, you have your period of equilibrium. It's then followed by the price revolution, 16th century, 18th century, and the one we're in today, when prices, money is debased and inflation comes into the system in terms of the currency. And of course, that is really what is at the heart of gold's appeal. It is a counter to price and currency debasement, and it holds its purchasing power. And I think that's critical, because when you look at prices today, you can see what's been going on in the top right-hand chart, or indeed in terms of house prices in the bottom right-hand chart. We've had an acceleration of prices over the last 50 years, and we saw more of that in the pandemic. So my point here is really to say the guts of gold, the guts of it, of course, is currency debasement. Now, at times that currency debasement, money printing, happens. Most of the time you end up with inflation. Sometimes it happens in response to deflation, but gold does well in both environments. Whenever you print money, gold does well. So that is the historical backdrop